as they started opening some of the restaurants up, a couple of restaurants went in and said, well, we're going to have robots deliver your food to your table, so you don't have to come in contact with a waiter or something like that, right? And they're going to go with the illusion that this was somehow not touched by human hands in the kitchen, hermetically sealed, and then brought to your table by a little robot cart, right? But of course, they're also working in the kitchen to make sure that they can replace people there just for labor costs. And now you got yet another article coming out of ABC talking about Silicon Valley, the San Francisco area, the Radisson and Sunnyvale. They say robots are filling in staffing shortages at some Bay Area hotels with no tips expected. And this whole thing, this puff piece from ABC News, is selling the idea of how much better robots are than people. So do you see a trend here, right? You want to have sex dolls, not a human partner. You want to have robots to cook and to deliver your food and to clean your room and all this sort of thing. Because, humans are just so expensive. They're so filthy. As a matter of fact, Travis Kalanick, who began Uber, was saying, that's our goal. That's really where we're headed. That's where we're going to become profitable, because what makes our car expensive to rent by the ride is that other dude in the car. And I had a listener say, you need to, when we talk about these autonomous cars and stuff, you need to show Johnny Cab from Total Recall. I was like, yeah, I did that. I did that. I had to do it again. But I did that years ago when I was talking about that quote from Travis Kalanick. I said, you want to see the other dude in the car? It looks like a Johnny Cab. You don't want that other dude in the car necessarily. But you also don't want to live in a world where we become the Eloi. And that's exactly what they're trying to turn us into. You remember that from H.G. Wells' Time Machine? He goes forward in the future and he sees these, pink, cuddly, soft things. Oh, they're so nice and everything. And then the Morlocks come from underground and will take them away. I mean, they give them everything they want. They're pacified. They don't know how to do anything. They're totally helpless, but they're basically cattle and they're meat for these Morlocks. And that's exactly what these technocrats are. They're Morlocks. And they are trying to turn us into Eloi. Doing a pretty good job of it, as a matter of fact. Take a look at this high-tech invention that is rolling out at the Consumer Electronics Show. That is beginning right now. It happens the first week of the new year. And it's kind of an interesting place to go. I always intended to go there, and always there was something that was happening at the beginning of the year. I will not be going to the Consumer Electronics Show, I guess, ever again, because now they're all about vaccine passports. And even if you have a vaccine passport, you still got to get tests over and above the vaccine passport. So nobody's going to be allowed in unless they're completely vaccinated and can prove it to them. And then you still have to do a test. So they don't believe that their vaccines work, right? And we know they don't. But anyway, the Consumer Electronics Show is interesting to see how they are rolling things out. And a couple of years ago, the Consumer Electronics Show really just kind of focused on autonomous cars and a bunch of other technology that was really pointing towards 2030. Take a look at this robot that, and I'll let you listen to the description of how this robot works. The Beomni, I guess is the way you pronounce this, 1.0. Beyond Imagination is the company.
Beyond Imagination invites you to CES booth 9227, Tech East Hall. Come meet Beyond Me, the world's first fully functional general-purpose robotic platform, enabling remote work at a high level of fidelity to be done from around the globe. Via a human pilot assisted by an AI brain, Beyond Me can perform a limitless number of jobs. Learning through human commercial use, over time, Beyond Me's AI brain evolves, going from learning to assisting to semi-autonomous and then fully autonomous on a task-by-task basis. Our robotics platform is the iPhone and App Store, iOS, of robotics. Connecting you to Beyond Me's AI brain serves as a marketplace for Beyond and third-party hardware and software, and service portal. Beyond Me will operate in a limitless number of verticals, starting in aeronautics and aerospace, aircraft inspections, biomanufacturing, traditional manufacturing, elder care, healthcare, logistics. Our robotics system also serves as a remobilization platform, allows the physically challenged to go beyond bodily limits, enabling them to care for themselves if they wish to go back to work. Our platform serves as an ultimate service provider, instantly bringing any service provider directly into your home or office. Need a cook, gardener, maid, doctor? With a few clicks, you can order one right in your robot. Join us at CES to see how we are transforming the world.
Okay, and so it's kind of interesting the way they pronounce that. It is actually like be omni, right? As in everywhere or everything. And but it also sounds like he's saying beyond me. Because, we've got beyond meat, and now we've got robots that are beyond me. They don't need me anymore. The future doesn't need you. It's beyond you. It's beyond me. It was also, did you also catch what he was saying? He kind of mentioned it a little bit around the globe or whatever. But I've shown a picture, and for those of you who are listening to it, as we're watching the visuals, you could see that there was somebody who was using a VR headset and had hand controls, and they were doing things essentially by VR proxy with this robot. Now, what they're saying is that will they envision their robots being manipulated like that, and then starting to learn with AI, so they can start to. And I don't know really how effective that is. Will the AI brain really be able to learn how to do that independently? When you look at, however, how it's going to start, you can immediately see, and they touted it once before. They had a robot that was controlled remotely, VR, by somebody, and it was being used to stock shelves in a convenience store. And they were touting that as something very useful during the lockdown. You got an employee who, you don't want him, you can't have people in the stores working and so forth, so they can work from home. Well, that doesn't really make sense, because if you're that worried about everything, you don't want any, customers aren't going to be going out either. And I said at the time, I said, no, what this is really about bringing in cheap foreign labor without bringing them physically into the country. Remember that the biggest driver of the immigration crisis, and it is a crisis that we have now, the biggest driver of that immigration crisis are the corporations that both the Democrats and the Republicans allow to use illegal labor. And so this is a bipartisan agreement that in order to help the big corporations, they will bring in cheaper foreign labor. Now, you don't actually have to have the people make the journey to come into your country. If you have these types of VR robots, and I think this is one of the reasons why Facebook is pushing this so hard, the Metaverse. You'll be able to work in the Metaverse, and you'll be competing against somebody who lives in a very low-cost, low-income area like India, for example. And they'll be able to directly hire people in India to do these types of tasks. They will be able to get onto VR, and they'll be able to control one of these Omni robots or the other brands of it, and they'll be able to do the tasks, and they'll work for a tiny, tiny fraction of what you work for. It'll be another way of pushing you out of the workforce, other than using vaccine mandates. And so when you look at this, I think that is the key issue right there. And to underscore that, I played for you yesterday. I thought it was funny that press conference that Biden was there, and he was really astonished that, price of food, because he doesn't buy his own food, obviously, probably hasn't for decades, and a $5 a pound ground meat, ground beef. This is crazy. And so he criticized the four big corporations. As he pointed out, four big corporations control more than half of the markets in beef, pork, and poultry. And those four corporations are Tyson Foods, Cargill, the National Beef Packing Company, and JBS. One of those is owned by foreign interests as well, and there's probably more than one of those that have a lot of foreign ownership. Those conglomerates had 35% of the market not that long ago. Today, it is 85% of the market. So when he says it's more than half, it's way more than half. It's 85% of the market. 85% of all the meat that you buy comes through 4 corporations. And so what he decided he would do is he announced that they were going to do something to help the people who were competing against them. But then on the other hand, what he also is doing is stopping ICE raids at meat packing plants. They were finding a few too many people that had come here that were working at very, very cheap labor. So by eliminating the ICE raids, as Breitbart points out, it is a massive labor protection for the corporate meat packers, just as the Biden administration has released more than 500,000 border crossers, many of whom will take jobs at meat packing plants. So that's the reality of what is happening now. But it's going to get much worse as you see all these different makes of robots come in, allow people to get on the Metaverse and work that way very cheaply. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity, created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at thedavidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. thedavidknightshow.com.